What's up, everyone on the internet? My name's Dan, and this is my vlog. Now, I want to start out this blog with a little bit of a story. I have when I get bored at work, I tend to go online and look up memes, and because when this is coming out, so this is the beginning of the school year, and I thought, before I look up school memes, and then I thought it would show an old school meme, so I looked up old school, and one of the suggestions on Google, how you do image search will say, how about this? And it was old school rap, and there was a funny image of the if you've ever seen those the Pepperidge Farm meme from Family Guy, they have the remember when this was this Pepperidge Farm does. Well, the meme had them saying, remember when rap was gangsta and not swag? Pepperidge Farm does. Which I'm like, I do remember that. And then I started thinking about and I started getting a nostalgia trip. And then I realized something interesting. That about the time like hardcore kind of like gangster rap, and they just call it political rap, tended to start dying in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and about that time you start seeing the makings of the social justice movement, and also at the same time in other types of music you saw the death or I guess you call it the curtailment of the punk and metal scenes, the anti. You saw they started. I guess companies were, and I'm wondering. I was thinking, I wonder if there's a link between the death of punk and gangster rap and the rise of SJWs. And I think I kind of get why. If you look at swag rap, it's all about bitches and driving around, and that makes just a perfect target for I think that basically is one of the things that third wave. It's rally around you're talking about bitches and you're talking shit and blah, 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 blah. And very much the middle-aged mom type thing. And I think they got it from their moms. And when you saw it with punk, with the end of punk and not like metal. When I'm talking about metal, I'm talking about Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down just kind of faded into memory. Green Day has. So they just hit me that when we had these outlets, we tended to, back in the 90s, people were listening to this, I guess in a way of kind of saying, yeah, fuck the system, fuck this. It's almost like, an outlet, and people go to concerts and let out their rage. Another thing I noticed also about the older rap was that it's literally me against the world, against the whole and it's very much like, I'm gonna stand up, you're not gonna fuck with me, that kind of it's very much like raise yourself up kind of thing. Don't let people fucking put you down. Let the man put you down. Don't let the cops put you down. Punk was like that too, Let's look at Rage Against the Machines, killing the name of it. Basically, don't tell me what you. Basically saying, don't define me. I'm fucking me. And that was I think that's another thing that with the death of these, or the sunset of these genres, you saw the loss of individuality, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm just gonna go along with the swag life, go along with that, or just being an emo. I mean, that's the sad part, is with the death of political punk and metal, you saw stuff like Coldplay being all whiny and emotional and very much like a cuck type thing. Although there's still some good stuff out there, like Disturbed and Rise Against, but the mainstream of it is not as big of a presence as it was in the 90s. And I think part of that also, again, goes with the fact that one of the ways a lot of us got to see the music back in the 90s was, in the early 2000s, was sort of like MTV, which, is now just, I don't know what the fuck to call it. What does the M stand for now? I used to think it was like reality shows. Now it's like monotony. So, but I think what's happened is because that's disappeared. People are now, going out and being cry bullies. Well, I mean, I don't think it's all clearly linked, but I think in some part it could tell that because I mean, with NWA, it's like fuck the police. Or like, yeah, fuck the police. It was kind of your way of non-violently protesting the police, basically sticking at your finger. But because there's no like NWA saying fuck the police, everyone's like, well, let's literally go fuck up the police. There's not a safety valve, and and I think a lot of people would be bitching about the system and the establishment through like Rage Against the Machine or Simmer Down, since they've kind of gone away. I mean, they may still be making albums, but they've gone more. Honestly, the last album I owned, System Down, is Hypnotized. And you know what? The truth is, like that was really good because it was like in the song BYOB, it's basically it's an indictment of the war in the Middle East, which I thought was freaking awesome. And then the problem is now people they have these older stuff, but there's nothing new to handling more modern issues. And I think the problem is without these outlets, because art's a great outlet when it comes to political dissatisfaction. I mean, they showed that in the like Andy Warhol did paintings, and he was like, "Oh, this is clearly showing the system." Artists do stuff or they express their thing. The problem is with and this might be just the music industry, because they're like, "Oh yes, swag rap's easy to sell, and people will buy all this stuff," and it's less about the artist and more about the bottom line. And I know music's always been about the bottom line, but there, I guess, for a time like with NWA and Rage Against the Machine, where we're like, no, these guys are getting a crowd, and people were basically venting through the music. They were venting their anger at a fucked up system. And you know what? For the 90s, things were pretty chill. People were colorblind, despite the fact that SJWs said it's not a bad thing, because I treat you like a fucking human being, you treat me like a fucking human being. That's the way life goes. So, in closing, I think that what we kind of need now is we need somebody like a Tupac or a kind of a group who basically says, this shit's fucked up, I'm gonna sing about it, or rap about it, and basically use it as a huge vent, because maybe that'll help end the riots. I mean, I'll give credit, like one of the best things I've seen lately when it comes to this was Snoop Dogg went up to the LAPD with a bunch of men from lower income areas and said, "Hey, look, we're the people you're patrolling. How about we meet you? Get to know our faces, because they say it's kind of in reverse or an inverse of community policing, where you go in and you're like, hey, I am Officer Dan, I'm in the neighborhood, and you get people like you. This is basically saying, hey, look, we're a community. Get to know us. And I think that's helping as well. But I do honestly think that without a vent as well to like frustrate, you've had the rise of the cry bullies, because most people back in the 90s were like, dude, we're being a person. Like, fuck you, dude. You'll listen to System. They know what's going on, and it kind of politically motivated you, but you weren't like this. You're being led by people who actually were artists instead of scam artists. I mean, or criminals. I mean, Black Lives Matter. Sorry, I had a bad cough. But I think that's the big thing, that you're gonna see the rise. If you do see a renaissance of these genres, it might help stem this. And I keep saying myself words, so I think that means if I'm saying stuff all over and over again, that really means I have said all I need to say. And I just like to remind you that you should like this video and hit the subscribe button. My name's Dan, and we'll see you later. Bye.